We're coming to you today from Melbourne, Australia, and we would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we are recording, the Wurundjeri and Bunurong people of the Kulin Nation. We pay our respects to their elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples listening to the recording today.
Hello and welcome to the Olfactive Melbourne podcast. Our show is all about elevating Australian perfumery through conversations with Australian perfume houses who take us on a guided masterclass through a fragrance that best represents their brand. Hello and welcome to another episode of Olfactive Melbourne. I'm your co-host, Trent Stokes.
And I'm Robin Stokes. Today we have the Perfumer-in-Chief, Kim, from Kolido. Welcome to the show, Kim.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you with us.
Yeah.
Let's kick off the show with you telling us a little bit about how long has Kolido been around and where are you based?
So Collido as a brand has been founded and active for roughly 5 years now. So we got together as a team of 4 just during the first year of COVID. Yeah, it was a very funny time.
Yep.
And then we did a few meetings and we talked about the structure of the company and the brand. And then obviously we went through the lockdown. Then after the lockdown, we really started the business. So I would say that the most active period of the brand was between 2022 until this point.
Yep.
Yeah.
And where are you located?
So it was a long journey. So we started in one of the office that the founders had in Cremont. That's where we used to meet each other on a weekly basis. Then he got a property in Coldstream, and we now have our lab in there. And that's basically where our headquarters is. And we meet each other once a week in the lab. So it's in Coldstream, Yarra Valley.
Fantastic. And for our international viewers, that is in Victoria in Australia. So Kim, just a quick question for you.
Yeah.
Kolido, is there a special meaning behind that word? What does that mean in terms of the brand?
So that actually wasn't the original name that we chose. In the beginning, we went with something else that I now cannot remember. I cannot remember anymore. But we decided not to go forward with that. And then the actual art director, Anthony, he came to us and said that, why don't we use the Kaleidoscope as the object of inspiration? And the reason why we look at the Kaleidoscope is because we are a team of 4 with different personality, and we try to make perfume from a city that also has so many different personalities. And that's why we use a wordplay, I guess. So from Kaleidoscope came Collido. And that's the reason why.
Oh, fantastic. Makes sense. Because
does.
I guess a kaleidoscope, blends and merges images as you turn it. And this is a blended and merging of ideas and fantastic. I
And
love
the
it.
perfume as well, when you kind of like, if you experience the Collido and you experience the perfume, it's very similar in a way that it changes over time. And if you turned it, which means, in a way, if you wear the perfume, it kind of interacts with your body and it becomes part of you. So you are one fragment in the Kolido image. Yeah, that's the idea.
Beautiful. It's a nice visual to really get your understanding going. Fantastic. Well, we're really excited to try your fragrances. Now, you have brought on a fragrance to feature in our masterclass today. Which fragrance have you decided to bring on, and why have you selected that particular fragrance to showcase today?
I want to talk about Bareback. So Bareback was one of the fragrances that was celebrated the most amongst our audiences across all different types of age groups, from people who are in their 20s to people who are in their late 30s to people who are in their late 50s. It seemed like there's something in that perfume for everyone. And it's also one of the most unisex perfume that I created. So I think if we talk about it, then I can speak to a larger audience. So that's the reason why.
Fantastic. It's broadly appealing and appealing to both men and women, which is perfect for us. That is great. All right, so what we're going to do, so that the class unfolds in real time, we want to get this onto our scent strips and onto our skin ASAP. So Robin's going to spray it out. We're going to put it onto the scent strip so that we can have a really consistent experience of the fragrance.
Yeah.
Then we'll also put it on our skin, where we know there can be a little bit of variability dependent on our skin temperature, microbiome in the skin, a whole range of other different factors. So Robin will spray that out. And just while she's doing so, just for our audience, I'm going to quickly explain what we're about to smell, which are opening notes. So on your screen now, you will have a perfume pyramid. We're going to be experiencing the very top of that pyramid, called opening notes. So opening notes are called opening notes because they are made up of the lightest and most volatile fragrance molecules, which means that they surface to the fragrance first, but they also dissipate first, making way for the heart notes to come. This show is proudly sponsored by Watchvault, Australia's premier destination for luxury and vintage timepieces. Every watch is trusted, verified, and ready for its next chapter. Visit watchvault.com.au to discover your next timeless investment. So with that explanation in place, Kim, let's have a little smell, and then you can take us through the opening notes.
Yeah, of course. Okay, so we are smelling the scent strip first. And the funny thing about fragrance, as you guys know, if I start to tell you what's in here, then you will immediately believe it. Your brain will start telling you, oh, it's definitely in there. So why don't we have a guess? Why don't we try to feel what perfume family does this fragrance belong to? And then I can start telling you that.
Let's have a little, I'm going to close my eyes to really immerse myself here, and let's have a smell. I'm definitely, like, to my nose, I am getting a dry, grassy, sort of, I guess, hay-like smell in there, which is probably, I'm not sure whether I'm being influenced by the name Bareback and feeling that it might be associated with it.
I think so.
Huh?
I can definitely, I'm getting you could almost say a farm hay smell.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
But I also get something that I feel is a bit like chicory, a sort of spicy.
Oh, nice.
More on the strip than on my hand. But
So
that's what I
it's a bit
get.
spicy.
A little
for
bit
you?
spicy,
Yeah.
a bit musky,
Yeah.
a little bit.
Nice.
Those are my initial sort of impressions.
Yeah. Great. Okay, so the way I like to think about the opening of a fragrance is like a mise en scene. So it set the tone and it set the impression for the product. Most of the time, people will talk about, oh, the opening has this note, that note, this note. Technically, it doesn't really work like that. Like, you may want to think about the pyramid. Well, traditionally, yes, because what come out first will stay on the top. And then you got the stuff in the middle, and then you got the stuff in the base. But most of the times, or sometimes, stuff that comes out first tend to stay till the very end. And it could be intentional.
Yep.
Or it could be coincidental. So the opening of Bareback set the scene because the way I made this perfume was based on a brief. And I want people to have that vision. And you guys were correct. The openings were hay, yes, but there's another thing in there that support the hay. If I tell you now, you will immediately get it. Because that's the funny thing about the brain. It's like, oh yeah, I smell it now. It was a rose branch.
Ah, yes.
Yes. Now see what I meant? Like, oh yeah, it's in there.
It's because it's not overt. It's not overtly rosy.
No.
But now that you've said it, yeah, you can definitely smell it in there.
Yeah, so I make really straightforward and sometimes quite simple perfume. Because I think if I overload people with so many complex notes, it kind of takes away the story. Because end of the day, we are human. We can only experience up to a certain amount of order. And I'd like to keep things quite streamlined. So yes, the opening has rose branch, has hay, and a bit of fresh air. I would like to say it like that.
Fresh air.
Because it's the texture. Sometimes it's not just about the smell, it's the body of the perfume and the texture of the perfume. It's a bit more
It's very
abstract.
interesting that you
Yeah.
say that, because I think that was what I maybe have been trying to name.
Mm.
You know, so
Sometimes people, we have technical perfumers and we have artistic perfumer. And technical perfumer may say that, you can aldehyde it. Basically, that's what you're trying to do. I'm like, sure. But if I say aldehyde, it takes away the romance of a perfume.
Yep.
And I like to be a bit ambiguous, and because that's the beauty of perfume. You can just be ambiguous.
Absolutely. And not all of us are, frag heads and obsessed with perfume, right? So when you say notes like aldehydes, if you don't know what that is, what does it tell you?
Yeah.
It doesn't tell you anything, does it?
Yeah, it's like a closed door.
Yeah.
Because you are experiencing it nicely and you're kind of going into the world of the scent. And then someone say aldehyde and citronellose. And you're like, all right, then that's NCR because I know what they smell like. I don't know what they are.
What does it mean?
no connection. Yeah.
Yeah, but when you say, like a rose branch and fresh air and these descriptive words, you can link it because that's what you are actually smelling. Yeah, absolutely. So I guess the fresh air component of this, is this a sense that we're getting with the structure of the perfume, or is it a fantasy accord that you've created deliberately to give us that sense? How is the fresh air coming forward?
It would definitely be the later. So the fresh air that I mentioned just now is the combination of many things. It, yes, definitely, technically, is an accord, but it's also, how do I say this? It's the ratio between things. It's not just an accord. It's about balancing how heavy something is and how light something is. And sometimes it's also about time, the development of something as well, just so that when I say that there's a feel of fresh air there, then you can also feel maybe a bit of breeze, maybe a bit of dryness somewhere, is an abstract feeling. So accords for sure, but it's not just about accords, it's about balancing the weightness of everything else.
Yeah, how they all interact together to make it nice and balanced. Yep, to get that first impression.
It's like the forefront and the background.
Yeah.
I'm going to say the opening is not what I expected from the
Description?
name. Yeah, from the description. It's pleasantly, like it's a pleasant surprise. It's a really beautiful, fresh, aromatic opening. It's really lovely. I guess I just had this idea of, bareback. We're going to be talking about horses, and it's going to smell like a horse, or I had that sort of. I wasn't sure, which is great.
Well, yeah, it's intriguing.
Yeah, it's intriguing because it's all about inspiring a certain story. So I guess that's sort of leads into, I guess, what's the story behind Bareback? What is inspiring that fragrance?
So as you know, some perfumers works based on ideas that they have themselves. Sometimes they work on what we call hero ingredients. When I started the debut, which is D3 that you guys are looking at, I told who is Saskia, who is now our company director, I told her that it actually would be much better if you come forward and you tell me, make these perfume based on these stories. Because Collido as a brand is a standalone identity. And I don't want people to start associating the identity of Kolido with my style, because then eventually it's become my thing.
Yep.
But it has never been my thing. I am in the shadow. I'm creating the scent from the stories that I was given, which make the whole dynamic of the team so much better because everyone has a say in the process. So the story behind Bareback is Saskia wanted to make, because she was a horse girl, she wanted to make a perfume that celebrates the feeling of riding horse bareback. And it's so much more than just the visual of riding the horse and being with the horse. It's about the connection, the emotional and physical connection you have with the horse. And that's the backstory. And the funny thing is, not the funny thing, I would say, the foreign thing for me is I grew up in a country where we don't ride horses. We have them for agricultural purposes. So to me, it was quite challenging. But at the same time, it was also very intriguing. So I thought to myself, I can imagine how it would feel like riding a horse bareback, but I don't have that connection, you know? So I talked to another person in my team who is the founder, and he's actually arranged a meeting for me with an actual horse. So we went to a barn, and that barn was built specifically for only one horse because it was a very expensive and I would say, I don't know how to explain this, but like a very purebred one that was brought over to Melbourne all the way from a European country that I now have forgotten the name. And the barn was made only for that horse, and the horse name was King. So I went there, and then I went inside the barn, and then I got to go inside where the hall was. And it was a massive hall that was over 2 meters tall.
Wow.
It was a ginormous creature right in front of me. And I remember how I feel being in the presence of the king, which also was the inspiration of why I chose certain materials that we are going to talk about later. And then I got to collect some materials inside the barn with me and kind of feel them at home, smell them, and combine that experience with my emotional reaction to meeting the horse. And that's how Bareback came to life.
Yeah, I mean, the fresh air component of this now makes a lot more sense. Because really you're capturing the feeling of, as you said, riding a horse bareback, which is the wind rushing through your hair as the horse is bolting along, and it's about feeling. You're capturing feeling, not just the smells that are coming from interacting with that creature. Absolutely brilliant. Amazing that you can capture the smell of fresh air. Like, isn't that technically difficult? Surely it is. And I'm sure you can explain that to us as well as we're going through it. But probably a good little segue here. So Robin, obviously did an introduction for you at the very start of the show. But you're a nose. You're an actual perfumer. So you're the technical person behind the construction of the perfumes.
Yes.
How did that come about? When did you decide that you wanted to become a perfumer?
Well, I guess that where I am right now is the combination and the result of many days questioning ourselves, obviously, and also self-studying. But it all started with me being a collector. And I remember the first niche perfume that I owned did I sell it? No, I don't have it anymore, so it was. It was the Kaleidoscope from Such Lutons and I bought it in 2014. That's when Mecca first brought Such Lutons into the Australian market. And I remember smelling it and I was like, oh, perfume could be so much different, could be so much more interesting. Because if you guys remember, during that time, we were still being, bombarded with a lot of creation from, at least in the Australian market, not internationally, because some other perfume houses have been in existence for way longer than that.
Yeah.
But in our market, we didn't have more than just, Terry Mugler. We didn't have more than just Chanel or Dior. So by being exposed to a different segment kind of like created an idea for me that surely there are more than just these designer houses.
Yep.
So that opened the rabbit hole. And then I started to buy different perfume houses. And I remember going to, back then, it wasn't law perfumery in Brunswick. Was it Brunswick?
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It was still owned by the lady who has claimed perfumery. It was called Claimed. It was called Claimed, I think. And when I went there, I remember being introduced to so many different perfume houses. And that's where my interest in perfumery began, I would say, but not necessarily wanting to make my own product. Because naturally, I am someone who quite critical. Because I know that just because you like it doesn't mean you should make it. Doesn't mean you should get yourself into it, because you may end up making a disaster. And I had some idea of how expensive it's going to be. And I know that there's, a big barrier for people who want to enter the proper education to become a perfumer, let alone that is all the way in another continent.
Yeah.
So I kept collecting until around 2019. At that point, I decided to do something with my chemistry degree. And I thought, what if I can start by making a very small step by doing cosmetic science as a certificate. So I did an online course in cosmetic science. And then I realized that it can be quite fun, because I like data and I like numbers, and I have always been interested in chemistry. And I never knew that by having that foundation, you are already quite far ahead, because a lot of people would just buy things, no judgment, but then they would just mix things and don't understand why they go off, don't understand why things don't technically go together, why things don't last. But when you have that technical understanding, you know how to manipulate stuff, not necessarily know how to make stuff that smells nice.
Yeah.
That's a completely different, area. And then I started to try to get into the industry by working for Samantha Copland, who I think she still owns Perfume Playground. And I was helping out by being an instructor for her classes.
Yeah, like workshops.
Yeah, they do.
Okay.
I think she still does it. She mostly does it for corporates and companies.
Yep.
Yeah. And every now and then she would have classes on Class Bento and other platforms, I think, that you can buy and you can sit, and then you would have instructor like myself who show you how to make perfume yourself. But she would mostly work with naturals, so there was no synthetics.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And then after a while, I decided that, okay, I want to do something else for myself, but I didn't really know where to start. And then came my investor, who is also the main founder of Collido, Chris. Chris has always been interested in perfumes as a consumer, but then he also did a bit of research, and then he realized that actually this industry is quite ludicrous in a way. And then he was like, I just need to find the right talent. And I just happened to know another person who was working in his office space. And then he introduced me to Chris. And then Chris went, how do you feel about partnering up so we can have a brand together? And I thought, well, I think this is my moment. And that's where everything began.
Right place, right time, and you're in the right frame of mind for it, and it all came together beautifully.
I took that opportunity.
Fantastic. So from that moment where you said, yep, I'm ready to sort of jump in there and form this partnership, how long did it take to bring to fruition the very first perfumes in the range?
It definitely took us a few years to come up with concept, because we built everything from the ground. So we built the brand. We all started with the concept of the brand, which is the brand identity. We went through many steps of refining the identity, while also talking about what are we going to do for our debuts. And I think it took, like I said, we got together in 2021. Then we finalized a lab space in 2023. That's when Chris moved into his property in Coldstream. And that's where we kind of have a mortar and stone. Is that how you say it?
Yeah, or bricks and mortar.
Yeah, mortar and stone.
Yeah, it's close enough.
Really, yes. At the
brick and mortar space for us to meet and then to store our ingredients and to have lab equipments,
Yeah.
So I started to make things like physical drafts or initial designs for the 3 perfume during the same time. So I would say 2020, 2023. Then it took about almost 3 years for all of this.
That's quite a long time, isn't it? It's a lot of effort.
Yeah. I mean, if I could afford it, I would spend longer. But it got to a point where everyone was like, okay, we just need to get ourselves out there. And we don't have to be so perfect, because nobody knows what perfect is.
Yeah.
And the truth is, the brief was something. And I met 3 perfumes that were very on brief, that the rest of the team was very happy. And there's like, we just need to get them out or we will lose the momentum.
Yeah.
So there we go.
There you go.
Yeah.
What would you say would be one of the biggest challenges that you had through that 3-year process?
I think the biggest challenges was to be consistent with the workflow, because everyone, not just me, everyone in the team have their full-time jobs. And we all need to balance. I also have a family of 4 with my partner. As you guys know, we're very busy.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have no motivation at all. It's like, I don't want to smell anything. I don't want to look at my organ. I don't want to mix and match anymore. And there were times where there would be months from the first time I enter my lab till the second time. I would not go in, and we wouldn't even have meetings because nothing was happening. And then it took effort.
Yeah.
For you to kind of like stick to it and just do it. So that was the challenge. Yeah. Be self-motivated to bring something to life.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially when you have to juggle so many other
100%.
parts of living.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Well
4
done.
kids. I mean, we've got 2, and we can barely get out of bed in the morning. I don't know how you do it with 4.
Yeah. True.
Yeah, it is challenging. I mean, this is a relatively small country. Very, I mean, we're a large landmass for a small country. Accessing the types of ingredients that you need is extra difficult in our part of the world, and you've not only developed the fragrance here, you've manufactured it here as well, which is quite brilliant. You're blending everything here in Australia, which is quite unique.
Yeah.
Many fragrance houses in Australia will do all the creative direction here and then have it manufactured overseas.
Yeah.
But you've done the effort of just doing everything from scratch. It's really admirable, and what you've produced is absolutely stunning.
I
So
couldn't even believe myself. I was like,
it's amazing. Absolutely amazing. And I've got to say, I mean, the bottles are just
Mm.
absolutely gorgeous.
Mm.
We've got them on the table in front of us. The packaging is beautiful.
Mm.
You've really pulled this together quite
oh
nicely.
my God, this credit has to go to Anthony and Saskia. Those two guys are the creative directors of everything. I was just like, just don't get me involved. I had enough on my plate. You guys can decide on how everything looks. You can decide on the brand. I definitely step away from marketing because, like I said before, I don't want everything to be about me. I want the brand just to be the brand. I want the brand to have its own life. I want the brand to just be received as a brand. I don't want to be Kim in bold and like on top of Collido. So that's why I was like, and also I don't have knowledge in marketing because a lot of things has more to do with understanding your targeted audience, not just about being nice or being trendy. You need to know who do you want to appeal to, and it's tactical. So that's why I did not get involved in this. So Anthony and Saskia,
Well done. I'm sure they're watching this. Well done. Well done, guys. You've absolutely nailed it here. The perfumes look beautiful. Packaging looks beautiful. And of course, they smell delightful as well. So fantastic. Now, I've been keeping an eye on the time, and we've actually had probably about 25 minutes since we...
wow.
I know time flies when you're having fun. So we've had plenty of time now for the fragrance to start to dry down and for those heart notes to start to appear. And as you've acknowledged here, we use the perfume pyramid to educate people on the structure of perfume, but that's not necessarily the way these things unfold. Certainly from the moment that we've sprayed it out, we are getting elements of those heart notes coming out, but it's always helpful to explain.
Yep.
100%.
Yeah, so we will return to the perfume pyramid where the heart notes do form the core or the center of the perfume pyramid. And the heart notes normally start to appear once those bright top notes start to fade. And they really are the true character, the essence of the fragrance. You could say it's the perfume soul. They are also things like florals, aromatic herbs, sometimes spices. And that depth of character really, I guess, brings the essence of the fragrance forward. They can also create a bridge or a smooth transition between the top notes and the denser base notes yet to evolve. So that's the heart notes. They do tend to linger and last. This edition of Olfactive Melbourne is proudly sponsored by Silver Australia. Silver Australia design and shape their jewellery in their studio in Melbourne, and they're pleased to offer Olfactive Melbourne customers 20% off when you use the code MASA20. So tell us a little bit about what Bareback has in the heart.
Yeah, for sure. So as you are aware, the heart note, which is the core of the perfume, is the main impression of the perfume. Smelling the scent strip now, the heart note of Bareback is all about being in a haystack. So you can feel that the hay note coming out even stronger. Now with the support of vetiver. So I use two different types of vetivers in the heart structure just to really hold that hay, just to make it a bit more powerful, make it more, I would say, more dimensional.
Yep.
And a bit warmer as well. And in the heart, you also have iris. And the reason why I chose iris was because I want to bring a bit of luxurious feel to this perfume. It's like riding horse is a luxury, as you know.
Yep.
And also the gritties and the grittiness and the powderiness of the iris is a really good complementary character to the hay. It makes the hay slightly more feminine, but not necessarily make the whole structure soften down. It still has a lot of legs, I would say.
Yep.
And you also, right at this time of the perfume, you also experience a bit of the animalics that coming out from the base, which explain why some people say that, oh, it actually does smell like a horse. But it's not the horse that we smell. It's more like the warmth of the horse body and the sweetness of the hay that has been chewed inside the horse mouth. And you will also experience, now the roll has gone a little bit. Now you will smell a bit of the suede leather that's coming through.
Yeah.
And I would say that from this point till the time that the perfume dissipates, this is the main things. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd say from the opening, I wasn't getting the powderiness that's really coming through now for me. I was probably capturing some of the vetiver in the opening, that grassy,
Mine was
halo.
very, very strong initial.
Yeah.
Like you felt like you were in a farm that had animals. And now that seems to have sort of dissipated and it's almost lighter and has a bit more of a floral.
Yeah. So this is where I want people to feel a bit at ease with the perfume, because when it's first open, sometimes the dryness make you feel a bit hard to get closer to the perfume. But now if that dryness has gone, you will feel the warmth of all the base notes. So the labdanum, olibanum, different kind of musks in there that I used, and the orris or the iris. The rolls should be gone now or in another 10-15 minutes.
Yep.
And what left on your skin should be, let me try to think. It should be the vetiver,
Yep.
the hay, the olibanum, the labdanum, and definitely the iris. That would be the body of the perfume.
Certainly, the rose is, I guess, falling away into the background, but it's still there for me. So I can still smell it. It's blending beautifully with that soft powderiness that's in there. It smells quite delicate, and I think you're right to say, like, it's not softening. It's still got legs. Like it's still like I don't really need to lift my hand up to my face. It's a force of habit here. I can smell it from here. So it's projecting. It's strong, but it's delicate. I think that's a good way to sort of describe it. So I guess when you talk about putting together the perfume brief and you've got a story that you're coming along, where are we at in the horse story when we're in the heart notes? What are we visualizing as we're smelling these notes?
I think this is when you have finished the whole writing and you going back inside the barn, where you kind of go, obviously you wasn't using your saddle, but you kind of see it in the barn and you feel all the structure of the barn, like all the wood. Because I remember when I went to see King, the horse, in his presence, I feel like I'm in front of a king. And it was an ethereal and kind of like feeling, almost like feeling being blanketed by his presence. And that's the reason why you feel warmth. You also feel that power, but you feel more like inside. This is now not the power of riding the horse, but the power of being inside with such a larger than life presence.
Yeah. So it's that stable at the end of the ride, with a really magnificent being in front of you. So
almost imperial kind of feeling.
Yeah, I'm definitely getting that image in my mind.
Yeah, of course, you can imagine that very easily. And, as you say, that they're incredible animals. And I feel like it's still rosy for me. So it's got this beautiful sweetness, which I would, like in my imagination, in the horse's barn, that would just be perhaps the joy of that experience. That's how I might relate it. I
think that's a beautiful explanation for you. I think the rose and the iris is how I romanticize this perfume, because end of the day, horse riding is very physical. It's almost a bit barbarian in a way, but the rose and the iris in there to make everything feel a bit more romantic, especially the rose.
Yeah.
So that's the reason. Sometimes, and also they are in there to make everything out a bit softer, and they mold kind of like soften the edge of everything. Because when you think about it, technically, hay, vetiver, wood, cashmere, they all very dominating, and they all try to grab the limelight because they are quite rough and they're quite masculine. You need something in there to balance that energy. You need something to kind of like fill in between the silhouette of those hard and masculine materials. Obviously, I wouldn't mention all the synthetics that I use because they are in there just to fill the space and to, erect the structure of the perfume. They are irrelevant, but the main things are mainly quite masculine. So you still need a bit of femininity to keep everything mushed together in a nice way.
Yeah, so that it's nice and pleasant to wear. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is not uncommon to not list all of the notes inside of a perfume, because many of them there are just there to support and project other elements.
Yeah.
So can I just ask, because this is absolutely like glistening on my skin here, what's the perfume concentration?
25?
25.
20 to 25.
All right.
Yeah.
So that's that's not extract, that's parfum.
Yeah.
It's definitely on the extract side.
It's because it really is like, it's just, you can see that perfume oil just sitting on the skin. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it. I love what I love about the heart notes here is I grew up in the country. I actually grew up riding horses. So I owned a couple of horses. I had an ex-race horse. So I've had a lot of experience with horses, and I know that horse smell.
To my audience.
There you go. So I love riding. I've never ridden bareback voluntarily. All right. And what I mean is sometimes horses blow up their belly and you can't secure the saddle and it comes off, and that's a bit of a mistake. Amateurs. It's amateur hour when that happens. But you've managed to capture here all of the beautiful elements of those smells, because maybe for somebody who's listening to the podcast or watching the podcast and they're going, oh, it smells like a stable, that might not sound like a nice smell, but it's all of the lovely smells. It's the really nice aspect of the saddle type leather that's starting to punch through. It's those beautiful aspects of the hay, not the wet barnyardy hay, that lovely hay. And it's just such a soft and delicate and beautiful scent that you've managed to capture here. And I really think you've done it justice. I can see myself standing in.
Oh my God, I'm blushing so much.
It takes me back, right? Because this is my childhood, and scent does this. It takes us back to places that we loved, and now that I'm smelling this, I'm back there standing in the stable with Misty, who was my horse, and I can smell her, and I can smell that environment and all of the pleasant memories that I had, and all the lovely stuff. Not the stuff that you have to muck out, but all the good stuff. And it really is. It's a very, very lovely, delicate fragrance here. I love it.
Thank you very much. I think the florals are very nicely blended. My nose, they, now that I know which florals they are, that's great. But when I could just smell and thinking floral, wasn't completely recognizable, the iris.
Yeah.
And I think that's obviously the
because when it's blending with the hay, you can't really smell it, because most of the time iris is used as the shining star of a perfume, because it's such a strong floral note, but it's not a floral note. When you think about it, it's made from not the flower, it's made from the root.
Yes.
So that's why in old time is normally paired with other flowers just to make it appear to be more feminine. But when you don't use it with anything else, it's become this way. It's feminine, but it's more like a strong feminine, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. You opened up this podcast with the fact that this fragrance it's a unisex fragrance. So I guess when we're saying feminine, it's just if we think about a line of unisex, we can lean one way or another, and it just leans a little bit to the feminine side, but that's part of what makes up the perfume makes it nice. It's a very wearable for a man,
Yeah.
even though we might say that something is a little bit feminine or it might be a little bit masculine. There certainly will be some notes in the base here because I can already smell them that might lean a little bit to the male side, and that balances it all out to create that nice unisex fragrance, which is a very long way of me introducing a question to you, which is, in terms of the Kolido brand, what's the philosophy around gender?
Look, the funny thing is when everyone first got together, we did talk about this and we was like, oh, are we going to make something completely feminine? Are we going to make something completely masculine? Are we not going to be bothered? And I said to everyone that there has to be something for someone. So when you release a debut, if you make 3 or 5 perfume that no one can associate themselves with, then you can't be received because no one see themselves wearing the perfume and become part of their identity. So to answer your question, we don't really make perfume that can fit everyone.
Yep.
We do make things that we know that the women will like more, the men will like more, because at the end of the day, it's the business strategy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And in terms of unisex, personally, I think that every single perfume is unisex if you dare enough.
Well, I would agree.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Like, I have seen myself wearing all of my partner perfume all the time because I like it.
Yeah.
And it's just fit me well. So I guess that if people continue to worry themselves with this concept, they limit themselves on so many nice perfume out there. I personally wear cedarwood very well. And I don't think many women will say, oh, cedarwood. Why would I wear cedarwood? I'm like, oh, but you don't know.
That's one of the ones I
fits well
feel.
with you.
Yeah, from his side.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So business-wise, we do have to make options.
Yep.
But philosophically speaking, we don't believe in it. We think that everyone can just wear anything if they like.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Preference. Yeah.
Yeah, and you need to. I mean, there's a lot of fragrances out there, right? So if you don't create a signpost pointing in a direction, it can be difficult for people to find the fragrance in the first place, right? And so if I'm looking for a feminine fragrance that suits me for this type of occasion, they're able to find the fragrance quite easily, even if that fragrance is perfectly suitable for both genders.
Yeah.
It is niche perfumery, and niche perfumery, I mean, it's designed to push the bounds. You're not trying to be a designer fragrance. You're not trying to be mass appealing. It's not going to be for everybody.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it also gives you permission to be able to wear things that, hey, it might smell a little bit feminine, but it works really well on your skin, or vice versa. So, and I think that's perfectly fine. Now, I think that's probably a nice segue into exploring the other fragrances in the range, because we do have a little bit of time. So we've got 2 other fragrances that we're going to be experiencing today. Which one do you recommend that we smell first?
I think let's go same with the way you have wine. Maybe we'll go from light to heavy.
That makes sense.
I think we can start with Nymphetta.
Nymphetta. Okay. All right. So Robin's going to spray out Nymphetta, but this is a bit of a divisive name, Nymphetta.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Tell us.
Yeah. So talking about division, Anthony, the creative director, he was like, "Are you sure? I don't want to be the the creative behind this name." And I was like, Anthony, you just have to forget about it. No one's going to hammer you if they know that you came up with this. You just have to believe the product. So Nymphetta. Now, this perfume, I didn't choose the name, by the way. I'm terrible with names, let alone the fact that English is my secondary language. I made the perfume based on a brief, and I've finished it based on the brief. Then the name actually came after.
Well,
it was named something else, completely different, even more provocative and more offensive in the beginning.
Yeah.
Up to a point where we was like, okay, this is not safe. So we scratched that name, and then we came up with Nymphetta. And I actually like the way Nymphetta sound. It has that Greek methodology feel.
Yeah, sort of a bit ethereal, a bit fairy-like. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah,
It
conjures up an image.
Because it's not
immediately.
pure English. So it's kind of like ambiguous in the air, up in the air. Something's up in the air. So Nymphetta, when you hear the name, obviously you associate with girls.
Yep.
So immediately it sends you a signal that this is a feminine perfume.
Yep.
And once again, it's the business strategy because we want this perfume to appeal to women. Funnily enough, after our debut night, I have compliments from only men. Only the males that came and say, I cannot get my nose out of this smell. I love it. It was so funny.
Wow. Okay.
It was so funny that all the men just loved it. They say, oh my God, I can't stop smelling my arm. What is this? What is this? I want to wear it. But it's so feminine. And they can't bring themselves to wear it. But they love it.
So isn't that a great advertisement for women, though? Because if men just want to smell it, then they want to smell you when you're wearing it. So it really then speaks to...
What are they buying it for?
Exactly. So I'm interested. We've ended up with the name Nymphetta, and I know you didn't name it, but what was the brief?
The brief was, is actually, once again, is about a feeling. I work mostly with recreating a feeling on abstract image. So this is about springtime, being in the park, but also being a woman who first appear to be innocent, but she's actually more sinister in the background.
In the dark.
Yeah.
A little evil.
How do I put this into words? It's very hard. It's like being deceiving about who she really is. Yeah.
Okay.
Very
Getting
interesting.
getting a sort of who's that biblical,
Like a Jezebel.
almost like a Jezebel. Who was in the Garden of Eden and before Eve, who got booted out? Do you remember? I know I'm going back.
Lilith. Was it Lilith?
Lilith. That's what I'm getting. Lilith.
There we go.
Yeah, that is the image that's being struck up here from the brief, and now that I'm smelling it under my nose, it's giving me that real sense. So, what are the notes that we've got in this fragrance?
Yeah, so the opening is kind of quite ethereal that you can feel, and I purposely make it not detectable. It's like I create what I call an abstract bouquet of floral that doesn't have any distinctiveness of any flower. And the opening is a bit of that in the background. And you can also smell green grass, but a bit more dew green grass, and bit of jasmine, and bit of yuzu, not a lot.
Yeah.
And green mandarin.
Mm.
Yeah, but not super tart, not super sour, not punchy. It creates that opening freshness. It's like appearing to be innocent. Because normally mandarin and yuzu bring up that feeling of childhood, something sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the opening.
I have to say, I personally really like this fragrance.
Yeah, it's really nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see why the men were loving this. This is it's sensual.
Yeah.
Yes, it's very sensual.
Yeah.
Yeah, it grips you. There's something in there that draws you in, but you don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's what I call the abstract, non-detectable floral bouquet.
Yeah, I'm not sure I could pick out a specific floral in it. It's just beautifully blended. It's difficult to pick out a single note because it's all just blended so beautifully, which is obviously the purpose of it. But yeah, it's definitely got that. You can just picture it being on a woman's skin quite beautiful. I think after the show, Robin, you'll have to pop this on your skin so we can get that scent. But yeah, very sensual.
It's almost like if you were to describe it as a color, it's definitely pink.
Yes.
It's like a, it's a pink color.
Absolutely. And now that you've said yuzu, and while it doesn't pop
No,
yuzu,
mm,
I am getting that sense that it's there.
Yeah.
You know?
it's like the residue of the yuzu drop.
Mm,
It's like it's candy, it's condensed. And that's the aspect of yuzu that I was trying to explore. Not the heady and citrusy and fresh and punchy and peppery aspect of yuzu that we normally
Yeah.
experience in
Mhm.
perfume. Because normally when people mention anything citrus, you would want to find it like, well, where is the citrus? But I want to put the citrus in there for the feel, not for the odor.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And I mean, obviously, we're going through the masterclass for Bareback at the moment. So we're experiencing some grassy, hay-like notes. But in this one, I think your description of dewy grass or, that wet sort of morning grass is the right type of description for this, what I'm smelling in here as well. Because it's not the same as we're getting in Bareback at all.
It's very different.
Great date night.
Yeah.
It's
Great.
pretty.
Wow.
That pretty. Yeah.
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 And, I wouldn't mind smelling it on a man out of curiosity.
I'm happy. I'm more than happy to wear it. Absolutely. It's gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous fragrance. I think it's also one of those fragrances where, a lot of date night fragrances aren't suitable for the hot weather because they become a bit cloying and a bit too much.
Blondie and
it's too heavy,
chocolatey.
yeah.
It's just too much. This is your alternative for, you want a beautiful date night fragrance, but it's the middle of summer.
Yeah.
This is the fragrance to go for sure.
Then you could get away.
Yeah, this is...
I'm actually very happy to hear this because it's so Nymphetta. It's like the name is so apt.
Yeah, it's so suitable.
It's definitely the woman silhouette is definitely there when you think about this perfume.
Absolutely. And I've got to say, we've got a massive collection of perfumes, and we expose ourselves to designer and niche fragrances all the time. There's not that many fragrances that I can think of that are romantic date night female fragrances suitable for summer. I just don't think there's many out there at all. It's like a handful I can even think of.
I think, well, yeah.
So I think this fits into that really nicely. Great creation. Fantastic.
Lovely.
Yeah, fantastic. Well done on constructing that fragrance, and well done to the person who came up with your brief, because I think that's absolutely brilliant.
Delicious, yeah.
All right, so we've got another fragrance that we're going to be experiencing.
This I would say the Shiraz of of our palette tonight.
Fantastic.
This is also my favorite.
Your favorite.
Got it. Yeah.
This is my favorite.
All right, and what's the name of this fragrance?
This one called 70s Taxi.
Come on, what a name, hey?
Wow, the names are fantastic here. Now,
Yeah.
when you say 70s Taxi, my mind immediately goes to Robert De Niro, Taxi Driver.
Of course.
All right,
Yeah.
that's where my mind goes.
Cinematic. There we go.
So, let's have a smell first, actually, and then we can get into the brief. So let's have a little smell. 'Cause it's wow,
Big and bold.
big and bold. Yeah, I was going to say, I can't just ignore this because it's just hitting my nose like a freight train. This is wow. I can see why this is your favorite. It's very bold.
Yeah.
It's quite complex.
Yeah, it has more. I'd say it had more personalities, more aspects,
Yeah.
more thing to explore, more dark corners.
It's very cinematic, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, yeah, big and bold. So I guess that was my first impression when you said 70s Taxi. Tell us about the brief.
Yeah, tell us the story.
This brief came from Anthony, my creative director. So Anthony background is Lebanese. And he said that I wanted to tell a story about my heritage. And because based on what he said, his family survived or mostly involved in the taxi industry in the 70s. And he wanted to make a product to celebrate that because that's how he came to life in Australia. And that's it. That's the brief.
Fantastic. That's
was
a
very
very
short.
short brief. Yeah.
Yeah, but it gave me so much inspiration. Now, I wasn't born in the 70s. Hopefully that you can see that. You can see that. But hearing him and picturing what it may be like in the 70s in Melbourne get me so much inspiration, ideas. I was very enthusiastic about his perfume. This was also the very first perfume that I started out of the all three, and it took the longest for me to develop it. Yeah. So I put a lot of thoughts and love into this perfume personally. And I really enjoy how it actually came together.
This is so unique. I don't think I've smelt a fragrance like this before. Like,
Wow.
you know, when you smell a fragrance, you're always reaching for into your little mental library of all of the different brands
You
that.
compare it.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, it's a little bit like, you know, Nymphetta this and, you know, whatever, Serge Lutens that. No. My mind can't stretch to any fragrance that I can think of that has this scent profile whatsoever. It's very, very unique.
Thank you.
Really nice, big, bold. I think this is, you know, I think for me, it's leaning a little bit more on the male, masculine side, as opposed to Nymphetta.
Yeah.
And this is definitely something I want to wear on my skin. It's beautiful. So take us through the notes.
So it opening with a bit of cigarette, but I purposely try to make it more like a cigarette butt. I want that dirtiness of, you know, it's like replicating the taxi driver in his shift and after his shift, and imagining his world and imagining the environment where he works. So the opening would be cigarette and whiskey.
Okay.
Yeah.
You have nailed this. You've nailed a cigarette butt for sure. You know, cigarette butt could be, you know, not a pleasant smell, but the aspects of it.
The ashy.
Yeah, the ashiness.
Yeah.
That's what is in here, the ashiness.
And we get that.
Ashiness, a bit dry, a bit smoky, but a bit wet. Yeah.
It's the good bit of the cigarette butt.
I know what you mean. Yeah. You have to really. Now, the more words you're saying and the more you're describing it, it's bringing it to life, because it's quite a challenging one to describe.
Yeah. It can be very, like I said many times, very abstract. It's very, I would say, cinematic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you kind of have to really dig deep to imagine, if I was inside the back of a taxi in the 70s, what would I smell?
Yep.
Quite literal, but I needed to find the thing that I can romanticize and the thing that people would find interesting or intrigued. Yeah.
Yep. So the taxi driver's just butted out his cigarette. Yeah. He's probably just had a swig of some booze. Yeah. And you've jumped into the back after, you know, your big night on the town, and that's the first sort of...
You can smell the leftover of all of that activities.
Yeah. And everybody else who's been in the taxi.
Oh, there we go. And the sweat.
Absolutely. I think the tobacco, obviously tobacco could be expressed in a million different ways. This is not that dark cigar-like tobacco. It's that light cigarette type tobacco. You've managed to capture the ash in there as well. And then you've got that nice little sort of boozy undertone, which is not dominating the fragrance, but it does provide that big, bold sort of opening. Blokey. Yeah, absolutely. This is absolutely lovely. So, all right, so that's our sort of opening. As this dries down and we get into like the heart and the base, where is this going to take us?
So it's taking you to cedar wood, which I imagine the rim of the car, the interior of the car, and I like the smell of the cigar box. So I use cedar wood, the central ingredient to hold everything together. So that's why it has that dryness that you might be experiencing now. And then you will smell leather, dirty leather, straight up leather. And you will smell birch tar, which I use to try to bring up the feeling of the petrol.
Okay, yes.
Yeah. It's like lick petrol.
Yeah. Wow, it's very interesting.
It's super complex, isn't it? I think this is, I'm not, like, this is amazing on the strip, But I think the only way to do this justice is to wear this on the skin. I'm going to have to experience it.
Multiple times. I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, just because it's every time you mention
Yeah.
not only another note, but what that note is referencing, I'm getting that visual in my head straight away. It's
incredible, isn't it? It's almost like as you're saying it, that particular aspect's
it
coming
jumps
to
out.
life.
Yeah, the leather seats, the tires, the cigarette, the alcohol, all of those things, which you can't separate as you smell.
No.
Yeah, they all come together.
It's beautifully
see.
blended.
Yeah.
Wow. Fantastic. So we've got a male leaning fragrance, a female leaning fragrance, and one that sort of sits a little bit in the middle, slightly feminine, which is the Bareback.
That's it. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Mm.
Absolutely lovely. These are beautiful fragrances. All right. So thank you for taking us through those.
My pleasure.
So I have been keeping an eye on the time, and since we actually sprayed it out, we've been at least 45 minutes. So we're actually approaching close to an hour, so we should be able to start experiencing our base notes now.
Yeah.
And we're going to have a smell again in just a moment, but in true Olfactive Melbourne style, let's explain our base notes. So just as a quick explanation of base notes, again, you've got your perfume pyramid on the screen there. We're right at the bottom of the perfume pyramid. These base notes are effectively the opposite of the opening notes that I described earlier in the show. So where the opening notes are made up of the lightest and the most volatile of the fragrance molecules, these are deep, dark, and dense, and these are the things that stick to your skin for the longest. Now, acknowledging that this is just a basic understanding of how perfume is structured, and that perfume isn't quite this linear. This is just the way that the fragrance will unfold. So we've had experienced already some of those base notes as we were experiencing the heart.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Now, with all of that explained, let's have another smell and take us through the base notes.
Yeah, definitely.
Wow, it's evolved a lot on the skin.
I love the dry down. Really nice.
Thank you. So after all the rose, the iris, and the leather, you are now left with cedarwood, sandalwood, the skin. So it's like you also have to sit down after a day of writing.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can almost like feeling yourself, feel the warmth of your own body. And that's why it feels nice on your skin now, because there's a lot of nice musk that I use in there to make the perfume more, what is the word I'm looking for? Like a nice warm blanket around you.
Yep.
And also the sweetness that you are smelling now, it's coming from labdanum and olibanum. So the reason why I use labdanum is just to make everything more sweet in the end, because it's the feeling of finishing riding a horse. You feel at ease, you feel sweet, you feel happy. And olibanum, as you know, is what used in a lot of incense. So that feeling of feeling a bit religious about the whole experience.
Yep.
Yeah, and the cedarwood and the sandalwood is just to basically is functional and to keep everything together. Yeah.
I love olibanum. I've used it a lot. We've done a couple of perfume classes where we've learned to build our own fragrances, and I overdose on olibanum just because it's an absolutely beautiful ingredient.
Yeah.
I love the way you've described this. So we're on a journey with our horse, right? So we've had the bareback ride, and we've had the fresh air coming through our
Exhilarating experience.
Yeah, and we've had this connection with the horse. We've become one for a moment in time where we're riding. We've then disembarked from the horse, put him in the stable, and we've just had that moment where we can smell everything. And now we're celebrating that connection that we had. It's still there. The remnants of the connection with the horse is still there. It's still on our skin. The memory is there, but we've got that satisfaction of we just did something magical.
Yeah.
And that's the real sense that I'm getting from the base here.
Well done.
That's the closure of the perfume.
Yeah. Absolutely lovely.
Yeah.
Wow. So in terms of I guess season. I was sort of gonna skip over this question because I think I know what the answer is here. But when do you think this is season appropriate?
Look, I think personally I would wear it in any season because it has all of the element that you can enjoy, even in summer. You know, if you wear it in the morning towards the end of the day, the warmth and the sweetness can still make you feel quite nice. Autumn is maybe the best, I would say, when the weather start feeling a bit cool, so you enjoy the dryness and, you know, the leather and the vetiver. I think you can wear it anytime, any day. It's definitely in an office sense for someone who's, you know, adventurous enough.
Yeah. I was actually, this is why I thought it's obvious to me, but people are listening and people are watching and you can't smell through the screen here. So it is an all season fragrance here. You could wear it in the height of summer. It's not going to overwhelm you.
Yeah.
It is a pretty safe grab and go fragrance for the office, but you're not going to smell like anybody else in the office. So I think the way you've described that is perfect. Like if you're a little bit daring or you just want to be a little bit different, you just want to stand out, who doesn't, right? This is a great one in the office, but it's not going to offend anybody in the office. Everybody's going to go, that smells beautiful. What do you smell like? I haven't smelled anything like that before. It's a pretty good projector, but not overwhelming.
Thank you.
So I guess it's a good office fragrance. Can you suggest any other maybe occasions that this might be a good place to wear?
I think Nymphetta, like you have mentioned many times before, definitely suitable for a date night where you want to kind of seduce the other person a little bit. But the nice thing about Nymphetta, you don't seduce them by sitting across. Kind of, if you lean close, then they discover the smell. And what I like about some what I call what is the word? High and sick perfume. It's like you kind of know that the person is wearing it, but you can't really tell. Okay, let me just get closer, just to see, just to smell you, and that the personality of Nymphetta. It's showing and it's going, and it's showing and it's going. So yeah, definitely for a date night with a lot of romance. And for 70 Taxi now, a lot of people have told me that it definitely has the black tie aspect to it, especially a man.
Yeah.
Not an everyday scent for sure because it's so bold. And it's
out there.
If you overspray, it definitely will wear you. You're not going to wear it. So you can wear it, I think, maybe in a wedding. As a man, yeah, I can see, and because it has that booziness to it, it's nice, feels celebrational. So
Yeah, I think it's also it's probably also a date night fragrance as well. So if you want to smell really manly, you know, you'll wear that while the woman will.
Outdoor events would be great at nights, like any kind of outdoor eating or.
You know what? I also think because it is it's a dominating sort of fragrance. If you wear it, you feel powerful. Right? If you are feeling like you're going to stand up on stage and give a speech, or you've got some big presentation to do at work, you might want to rock that one just to give you that.
Yeah.
I want to feel big and I want to feel powerful. That sort of thing.
You definitely nail that. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for taking us through the masterclass for Bareback and
You're very welcome.
showing us the other fragrances in the range. Now, just curious, you're working in I guess a team of four people, right? How do you go through the decision process? Do you get the brief and then you're left alone, and whatever the brief is, whatever you output is just what you output, or does everybody in that group of four have creative input into every part of the process? So talk us through how the process works.
Yeah, 100%. So most of the time when I receive the brief, we will talk about deadline. Because if we don't have a deadline, then we are not working in real time. You know, you can just drag it out for forever and it will never get done. And then we block it into different stages. So the first stage is when I will present different drafts that represent different texts of mine towards the brief. And everyone will sit down and smell it. And we will talk about it. We will talk about whether or not each direction really represent the story. Then I will receive those feedbacks. Then we try to ask we try to narrow down the draft towards only one. Then I will spend a lot of effort and time into refining that draft, because when we choose one draft to develop, that draft already has a lot of potential to represent the story. Just needs more, I guess, technical issue that need to be resolved. For example, the sillage is not big enough, or it's too big, it lasts too long, one note is way more dominating than the others. It's more about refining. But that's how we work. We work really closely together, because the way I imagine something is not necessarily the same way that my team imagine. And marketing is very important, because they don't really set the tone for the brand, but they also chose specific kind of perfume to really aim at our ideal audiences.
Yeah.
So that's why, and that how I wanted to work in the beginning. I said that I wanted to be treated like someone who that have no ownership of the brand. I just want to be there and work on the brief, because, like I said, the brand need to be its own.
So, in other words, the refinement process isn't necessarily because it's not a good fragrance. It's because you're tweaking it to a specific market or audience that you have in mind for
or
that
to
particular
highlight the
brief.
story more,
Or to to bring use aspects to
intention.
highlight. Amazing. It's a really good process. It sounds like a great team environment to work in as well.
And I do listen, and I do take note, and I do tell everyone to even go out, wear it, go out, and then see if anyone come forward and give you compliment, or if anyone say anything, and even spray on other people and see, and tell them, do you feel like this story when you smell this perfume? But also at the same time, you don't just make things that smell like a story. You also have to make things that blends in with your skin as well, something that people can wear. If I make a perfume that smells exactly like a 70 taxi, I don't think anyone would want to wear it, because it would be so
too much.
Absolutely. It's like the same as, you're not going to make a fragrance that smells like a horse. Or like a stable, right? Because there's aspects of those smells that aren't pleasant, so you don't want it to be photorealistic.
Correct.
You want to get a sense of it. So it sounds like you work in a really collaborative environment where you all have say, and it must be a nice place to work.
Can I ask, how long have the fragrances been released to?
We had our debut in October. Yes. So since that point until now, we didn't really push. We want to grow organically. So maybe you haven't seen a lot, because we are still growing as a brand. And during this journey, we still figure out who we are, really. The perfume speaks for the story and speak for us. But at the same time, we're still growing with it. So it's only been, I guess, less than 3 months. Yeah,
it's still pretty fresh to market. So if someone wants to buy the fragrances, where would they go to get the fragrances?
We do sell them online, so you can head straight to Collido to buy our perfume, and our team, one of us, will actually pack the perfume and send it straight to you. At the moment, we haven't really got any main retailer that represent us, because as you know, we're very small. We haven't really got any, I guess, that internet appearance. We haven't really got a lot of celebration. We are not that viral. So as a retailer shop, there's a lot of calculation for them to take on a new brand. So at the moment, we just sell it ourselves, so people can definitely buy it online on our website.
I am sure that's going to be changing very soon. But being able to buy it online, it means that you can get it anywhere you want in Australia. So for those of you who are watching on YouTube, we'll pop the Kolido website up on the screen for you right now. For those of you who are listening on Apple Podcasts or listening on Spotify, we'll embed the website straight into the description to make it nice and easy to find. On the olfactive.com.au website, which will have a QR code popping up onto your screen right now, simply scan it with your phone. That'll take you to our website. We'll have a description of this show along with the Kolido brand, and we'll also embed the website there. So there's 4 different ways to find it. You've got no excuse not to find Collido.
Now, obviously, they've only been released a few months, but do you have anything else coming up in the future that you could share with us?
Yeah, we are already working on our next releases. So at the moment, we already have story that we want to tell again, and I have started my drafts. We're just waiting for everyone to kind of like regroup. Our first meeting for 2026 is happening next week. So it will be the first time we meet up again to talk about our plan and to talk about the structure of everything and, share with each other the experience of having the perfume out there. And yeah, just kind of like a catch up. But yes, definitely there are 3 perfumes that are coming.
Wow.
Oh, exciting. So we're going to be doubling the size of the range.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And so what's the reception that you've had so far in terms of the general public? Have they been quite enthusiastic with it?
Yeah, I mean, most of the comments and the feedback that I have received have been really positive. Most people really like the way the perfume smell. They love the bottle. They love the packaging. And I think that the best kind of feedback that I can ever imagine. Some people that like the creation, and the other day Saskia shared with me that she definitely smelled someone wearing Nymphetta on the street. So it is happening for us.
Getting out
That is
Yeah.
little step, but it is definitely happening. So yeah.
Fantastic.
Congratulations on releasing them.
Absolutely. And you have got a strong social media presence. We follow you online as well.
Thank you.
So it's definitely worth jumping onto Instagram and giving the Kolido brand a follow for any events that might be coming up in which you might be showing the fragrance and getting a chance to get your nose on it. Of course, you can also go to the website.
Thank you.
So, Kim, thank you so much for spending some time with us today, taking us on this really detailed masterclass, showing us the broader range, and also just educating us on how you go about constructing perfumes and your philosophy. So thank you so much.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for coming along. It's been fantastic. Really enjoyed our conversation. And thank you to all of our listeners as well. If you've enjoyed this episode, please drop us a comment, give us a like, and don't forget to subscribe so that you can join us for more conversations with perfumers in Australia in the future. Good night.
Thank you. Bye-bye.